Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen nabiyyina Muhammadi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'du, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our fiqh hour. As is the process now, alhamdulillah, we have a theme which starts at the beginning, and then we cover that theme, and inshallah, once the theme is done, then we jump on to any questions. We've got a couple of questions that were outstanding from yesterday that I just wanted to get a second nazar over, which I have now. So I'll be able to share them. And then obviously we'll pick up the questions which are coming here via the live feeds. So bear with us, inshallah. So our esteemed colleague has set today's topic, or should we refer to it as the hot topic of discussion, which is around hair and beauty, youth and fashion, manhood and girlyhood. I like his titles. They are thought-provoking and give a nice little conversation to build around there. So first one is to just explore the whole concept of, as he calls it, beauty and the beast. Meaning, has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's aim been to make you in such a state that you are either perfect or you should strive to so-called perfect your features? One of the things we find ourselves now, particularly in this era, more so because of social media, is this continuous effort to try to, look pretty, to try to look good. And there is no restrictions and effort made by the individual to strive in order to achieve that. And you'll see women will spend hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds on anything that would be creams or cleansing products or makeup or perfume or anything like that whatsoever. And that's because obviously the way the marketing world will work is to keep convincing the woman that she'll look good with this or she'll look better with this. And so they'll have these young attractive models that will apply this particular perfume, and that woman will think, oh, okay, if I apply it, I will look like her. No, you will not look like her, because this is just the way it works. It's a gimmick. If these makeups and cleansing products and all the rest of it were so good, why would you need a model in order to put them on? You would just take an average woman or an average man and apply that makeup to the average woman and an average man who's got very poor skin in order to demonstrate your product. Why go to a woman that's got good skin and then apply this product to that woman who's got good skin? It defeats the object. Well, it doesn't defeat the object, because the object is to convince and fool that particular person, thinking that if I buy this product, I will look like her. And obviously the reality is you will not look like her, because she is that. Her features are like that. She has been sought out by a modeling agency, and it's taken her probably years after audition in order to get a particular place. And these agencies will have hundreds, if not thousands, of young girls that on their books, and it's a very competitive market, because it's a lot of money. And eventually she'll make it to the top, where she is now being used by these large corporate organizations. So you can imagine that this woman might be one in 10,000, or one in 100,000, or one in a million. So that means that's how rare this person is. Her features are supposedly the best features. But if only one woman in a million or one woman in 5 million has those particular features, then how is it that a person can compete with that? So that's a reality. And what that does is that makes a person feel undervalued. They don't really value themselves in the same way when they look at this other woman and they compare themselves with this other woman, or they look at this other man. I'm particularly focusing on women because it's very much an area that women are involved in. And you get this woman who's looking at this other woman, and she's trying to feel that I'm just not to her level. I just cannot perform to her level. I cannot compete to her level. So then she undervalues herself. And you start to see, you know, young girls in particular who will start to do either self-harm or feel that they're ugly or something like that. And this will do more damage to their self-esteem and things of that nature. So this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planned for us. This is not the way we were created, and that's it. That's what we look like. You know, you go with the warts and everything. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given good features to somebody, then that's a ni'mat Allah has given them. We can't sort of say, oh, well, you know, why is that person got this or whatever? Or I'm now going to, you know, go to plastic surgery, or I'm going to go get a Botox, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that in order to compete with that person. We are what we are, and that's it. You take it on face value and accept it. Quite literally you take it on face value. So some people have been given those features, some people haven't been given those features. So I think it's understanding these kind of things and understanding what Allah's will for us. So that was a little bit about on the ladies section. One of the things that gets ulama get asked quite a lot is about, you know, haircuts, particularly haircuts for you know, young men. And the big topic of short back and sides and cutting your hair in a certain way. So I want to share a couple of narrations with you. One narration, obviously, which is the key one, which people speak about, is the one that Sayyidina Ibn Umar narrates, that he says, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ينهى عن القزع. So this qaza, okay, is Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anh, mentions that I heard the Prophet ﷺ prohibiting from qaza. Now, when we have this word qaza, you find that this word qaza is used for all and sundry. Okay, it's used for all and sundry. So we need to be careful, and we need to find out what this actually means. What is this qaza hair which has been prohibited? So we find, for example, Imam Badruddin Aini mentioning in Umdatul Qari, which he says, وَأَمَّا إِذَا حَلَقَ شَعْرَهُ كُلَّ وَتَرَكَ الْوَذَوَائِبُ فَهُوَ الْقَزَعَ الْمَنْهِ عَنْهُ. وفي سنن أبي داود من حديث ابن عمر أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن القزع وهو أن يحلق رأس صبي ويترك له ذوابه. Meaning that what this is referring to is the shaving of all of the head. Halaq is shaving, not qasr, but halaq, shaving like we do when we come out of ihram, and leaving some parts of the hair. So leaving bits of the hair. That is what is prohibited from. And then a hadith is quoted, and the hadith which is quoted says that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited from qaza, and that is that you shave the head of a child. So this was usually done for children. I'm not sure why. Men obviously didn't do this. Men usually just had, you know, long hair or short hair, but for children they would do this, in which they would shave the head of the child, and then they would leave some bits. Okay, and these dhawaib were usually braids. Okay, these are in reference to braids. So the way you can best describe it is, you know, like you see, it used to be like monks in the old days, you know, the Shaolin monks. I don't know if you've ever seen the Shaolin monks, but the Shaolin monks, what they would do is they would shave all the head, and then they would have a little bit of hair there in which they would grow a plait. And that's how they would have it. Or they would have, you know, the whole hair shaved. And you see it sometimes now, you know, men do it now as well, is they'll shave all the head, and they will just leave hair at the top and then make a ponytail at the top of the hair and have it standing out. So that is qaza. Okay, that is what is referring to as qaza. Not different size hair. See, this is what sometimes people do, is they take this qaza and apply it broadly. This is the type it's referring to, is shaving all the head and leaving parts. Now, with regards to this, it is quite clear, okay, from the Hanafi position, that this is considered as makruh. Okay, this is makruh. And some have said it's makruh tanzihi, and some have said it's makruh tahrimi. Okay, so there's a different opinion with regards to this prohibition that the Prophet ﷺ has made. The next we come to, so this is one hukam to understand. Okay, this is one hukum to understand. In fact, Imam Ibn Abidin rahimahullah ta'ala mentions that this qaza, which is disliked, which is makruh, is that you shave part of the head and you leave the other to the amount of 3 fingers. So he's talking about a quantity there. So anyway, the point I'm making is that is qaza. So qaza, as I've described it there for you, which is the removal of most of the hair, like the Shaolin monks, and leaving some hair and then growing that hair long. Not like, not having it sort of this length, but leaving it long so that you can actually tie it as a plait or tie it as a ponytail or something like that. And the rest is all shaved off. This is what qaza is. And this is, like we said, makruh, okay, makruh tanzihi or makruh tahrimi, right? But it seems more than anything, even Imam Nawawi said, it's makruh tanzihi. So that hukum is makruh tanzihi, yani makruh disliked, close to halal, but disliked. However, now that's one thing. Let's pack that up. The next bit is imitating a non-Muslim in a particular hairstyle. This is the bigger issue here. So the qaza is quite a milder issue, if we can say that phrase, relatively speaking. The other issue is adopting a hairstyle which primarily a non-Muslim has adopted. So it depends what our youngsters take as role models. So for example, if they see a particular football star, or if they see a particular movie star, or if they see a particular pop star or whatever else sort of stars they are, then what they do is they see that hairstyle and they take it in, or they have a picture of it, they show the barber and say, do my hair like that. Okay, do my hair like that. So that's not qaza. That's now tashabbuh bil qawm. That's a different thing now. Okay, that's tashabbuh bil qawm. You are now imitating a people. Okay, you are now imitating a people. And if one is imitating a non-Muslim, then this is problematic. If one feels that non-Muslim's practice is superior than his own faith's practice, then that is obviously haram. There's no two ways to look at that. That's haram. Okay, because you're saying that I would prefer that. That's why, when it comes to, say, the beard, one is the issue of shaving, and one is sort of saying, oh, actually, I like the beard like that. Like, say, that non-Muslim has it, I prefer it like that. Then I prefer it like this. Okay, that is obviously haram, because you're making a choice there. You're making a choice there. There are now some hairstyles which are becoming fairly standard, which might be that the person might cut the hair slightly shorter around the sides and the back and leave the hair at the top slightly longer. Okay, slightly longer. I'm not talking like, flopping all over the top. And that is now becoming sort of like a standard hair, that you would expect somebody at the office to have. That doesn't mean that, he's a fashion freak or something and he has different hairstyle every day, but it'll be what would be considered a neat hairstyle. Okay, now we could look at that and say, is that now really, has that become so widespread now that it's not necessarily associated with a particular person or associated with a particular people? Okay, there was a time, for example, way back in the day, when Ronaldo, not the Cristiano Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, R9, not R7, he had a haircut where he shaved all his head and he had like a little kind of crescent just above on his forehead. Okay, and people saw that, and it was like the next thing. Oh yeah, let's have a hair like Ronaldo. Let's have a hair like Ronaldo. And because obviously Ronaldo was a good footballer, everybody did that. But he's a non-Muslim. Okay, and his hairstyle was quite unique. Nobody had a style like that before him. He was the only one that had hairstyle. So now when a person is imitating, thinking that that person's hair is a superior way to have my hair compared to someone else, that's where the haram aspect comes in. So summarizing, we've got 3 positions. The qaza I've explained. The qaza is to shave all the head and leave usually the back of the head or the top of the head and allow the hair to grow there so the man can have it as a plait or he can have it as a ponytail, but the rest of his head is shaved. Sometimes what men do now is they shave all the side of the head, shave all this back of the head, and they just have the hair going from the front to the top of the skull, and then they just tie it as a ponytail at the top of the skull, and everything is shaved. Okay, that's what he's referring to. And that is makruh tanzihi, according to most of the ulama. And that is what the Prophet ﷺ spoke of. The other one we have now, obviously, is the idea of imitating a non-Muslim's hairstyle. Pop star, movie star, actor, whatever. Okay, oh, I want to have my hair like that. Why? Because he's got it like that. And I think that's the way to have your hair. So he's now selecting that over his own faith. So that's haram. Then the third aspect is a haircut which has been within society for so long now, it's become widespread used. Okay, it's become widespread used. Everybody has it. A bit like, as I said to you, having slightly shorter on the sides, shorter at the back slightly, and having slightly longer at the top. We're not talking about huge difference. Now that, if we can say that this is widespread now, and it's not associated with fasakh, or it's not associated with only non-Muslims and only a few Muslims are imitating, it's become widespread now. Then there is some permissibility in that doesn't come under tashabbuh. Okay, so that is the conversation we wanted to have with regards to hair. Okay, next question, Sajid has set for us is nail polish. Okay, because we're talking about hair and beauty, youth and fashion, manhood and girlyhood, whatever that word means. Nail polish ruling: if you died in such a state, technically you should be buried the condition you put yourself in. Namaz validity: ghusl, is it valid? If one dies, should they keep the body in the state of nail polish? So yes, so nail polish, sisters putting nail polish on. So obviously when the ghusl is done, even if you've got makeup all over your face, then when the ghusl is done, the face is washed. Okay, I don't mean like proper washed, but it's washed sufficiently that water is run of it, that most likely your makeup will come off. There's no guarantee it will come off, but most likely most of it will come off, because obviously some makeup has been put on like layer after layer after layer. There's like the prep which goes on the skin, then the, I don't know, whatever goes on, the concealer. I'm just making some words up now. Then after the concealer, maybe the blusher goes on. Maybe I've just messed up that. Then maybe the next bit goes on. Then maybe the powder goes on. Then maybe the eyeliner goes on. I don't know. You get the idea, okay? So it's not as easy to wash off. Sometimes people have to use these kind of makeup wipes and really scrub the face to get it off. I imagine dying in that kind of state, obviously, the ghusl is going to be somewhat challenging, but I guess it's still achievable. The difficulty is now if you've got nail polish on. Obviously, if you've got nail polish on, that has to be, removed with a solvent. Okay, because when you're doing ghusl, then that nail polish is not reaching the nail. Okay, but how easy is it going to be for someone who's, your daughter or your sister or your mother? She's crying over you, and she's trying to wash nail polish off your fingers so that your ghusl is done, so that when you meet the angels who are going to ask you those questions, your body is in a pure state. But not only that, when you're alive, obviously, how are you going to do that? Now, I know people mention this halal nail polish, but obviously I've not done any research on this halal nail polish. I don't know who's done research on the halal nail polish that they can confidently say that water does pass through it. Because the first thing you'd have to see is anyone could, like I said, if you remember the last conversation when we spoke about food, when we were talking about eating out, then we mentioned that the label halal can be used by anybody. There's no restrictions. So when a person says, oh, that's halal nail polish, how do you know that's halal nail polish? And, what does the word halal nail polish mean? Does that mean that there's nothing haram inside of it? Or does that mean that it will allow water to go through? Who's going to do the research? Okay. So that's important. So whenever we go and we buy stuff like that, we need to go onto their website. What do they do? Do they do research? Is it permeable? What products are in there that makes it permeable? And no, we don't get in touch with Mufti Saab and say to Mufti Saab, oh, by the way, I'm buying this nail polish. Can you check? Because Mufti Saab doesn't have the time to be going into every single product that we potentially are going to buy to check if it's halal. As a community, what we should be doing is setting up an organization that can do that for us. Not poor Mufti Saabs. Poor Mufti Saabs have got more 950 million other things to do, mashallah, as well. So why don't the community who need this set up a group of scholars or set up an institute and say, right, we will look after you, we will support you, we will give you the resources, we will give you the funding, and you can do all this research for us. Wearing clothes which shows the body for males and females. Yes, so the purpose of clothes are many. We know that. The purpose of clothes are many. Keeps us warm, keeps us cool, depending on what time of year it is. It makes us look smart. And also it covers our body so that our skin cannot be seen, and similarly our body form cannot be seen. So they're the two elements we're going to focus on here. One is the skin and one is the body form. So obviously we've spoke about aura a week or 2 weeks ago, and obviously I mentioned the male aura being between the navel and the knee, including the knee. So not only can the skin not be seen by others, neither can the form of his thighs or the form of his posterior or the form of his frontier. I thought it'd just be the opposite of posterior. That cannot be seen either, yani the form of it. And for a woman, obviously, it's everything bar her hands and her face. Okay, yet her face would come under fitna. The sister asked the question, and we'll answer that for her shortly, inshallah. So in that case, tight clothing is out of the picture. See-through clothing is out of the picture. Clothing which can give some idea of form is out of the picture. So that's when a person is selecting clothes, that's what they need to make sure that they are wearing. Similarly, people might say, oh, well, I'm going to a wedding. I'm expecting no men to be there. Yes, that's easily said. But what happens is we know that men do pop in. So now, we've got a lot of cultures that the men do come at the end in order to collect the bride so they can come inside. Similarly, nowadays, it's a camera world. Everybody's, taking snaps. Everybody's putting stuff up on social media, even though they might be taking a picture of themselves. You happen to be walking past, so there's a picture there, and that's going out to the public. So it's not really a private function. It's not really a private place. So one should go to weddings on the assumption that my aura should be covered. Obviously, you don't want to go to a wedding. I'm talking particularly about women here. You don't want to go to a wedding wearing all black. I get that. So you might go and wear, colorful clothes or attractive clothes. But obviously, you'd make sure that all the body is at least covered in case somebody is taking pictures without you noticing. And then you can say, well, my back was to it, so no one's really going to know who I am. And obviously, loose fitting, not tight clothing. So it's just that it can be more colorful. Dyeing the hair in different fades. What's the ruling? So when it comes to dyeing hair, I'm assuming either this is a bloke, the dyeing hair is permitted. Not only is dyeing hair permitted, it's actually encouraged. Okay. And in order to, we have to avoid the black, but other than that, it is actually encouraged. When it comes to a woman dyeing her hair, well, normally her hair is covered outside when she's in front of ghair mahram. So she will only show her hair in front of mahram. So there's no issue, how she dyes her hair, whether she uses one color, two color, three colors, whatever. But if she's going to choose a particular style, which is associated with fasakh, then obviously that's a problem. Okay, because she's seeing that I want to be like her. I want to, whatever, some famous pop star. I don't know, whoever the famous pop stars are at the moment. I want my hair like her. So she might say, well, I don't show it. Nobody else sees it. It's at home. It's covered. Only my husband sees it. Yes, but it's in your heart. In your heart, you believe that that's who you should imitate. That's the issue here. Not that anyone's going to see it. No one may see it, but it's in your heart. It's like a person who doesn't have hair and says, if I had hair, I would imitate that woman. That person is still as sinful, because they're making the niyyah that if I had hair, I would, imitate that particular pop star, or I would imitate that particular actress. Nose jobs, fillers, hair transplants, cosmetics, goodness me. So obviously nose jobs, whatever that means, is if you've had a broken nose or something's gone wrong with your nose and it is a repair job, it is a medical intervention to repair things, then there is permissibility without doubt. Similarly, if you're, for example, starting to go bald at a very young age and you want to take steps in order to, cover your bald patch or whatever, then, there is some scope. However, we know from a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ forbade a woman who wanted to attach hair to her hair, her daughter's hair, in order to extend it. But the ulama do say that she was using real hair. If somebody used fake hair, synthetic hair, then it won't be a problem. So hair transplants, there is some scope. Cosmetic surgery, obviously there is no scope for cosmetic surgery whatsoever. Okay, so that was our little theme to kick us things off with. And that was about hair, beauty, youth, fashion, and manhood. And before we go off air, we will, inshallah, talk about what is going to be for tomorrow. So now let's return to the couple of questions that we had on the, where are we? Where did we go? On the, from yesterday, rather. So one question that we had was, can I show my face to my father-in-law's brother? I think I said no, and I stand by that because he's not considered as one's ghair mahram. Obviously, if this is when a woman fears fitna, if a woman doesn't fear fitna, then there is permissibility. You know, this is the main thing about covering the face is fear of fitna. So if she feels, this is also the case sometimes, you see, when a person lives in a house with brother-in-laws and lives in a house with other mainly brother-in-laws, and she will cover all her aura, but she thinks it's sometimes difficult to have her face covered because she's working in the kitchen. Sometimes a brother-in-law comes in to grab a glass or something like that, so it's not always easy for her to cover her face. So again, there is some scope if she doesn't cover her face, as long as she does not fear fitna. But if her brother-in-law is looking at her in a strange way, then obviously that's a sign that she should be covering her face as well. So there's got to be some practical elements, because sometimes people live in large families, and it's not always easy to do. It's not always easy to, have your aura covered at all times. Never mind, when a woman's working in the kitchen, she might have her sleeves rolled up. She might, tie a scarf back so it's out of the way, so it don't fall into, the sink or the cooker or whatever it is. So, and brother-in-laws might wander around a little bit freely. So, it's not easy, but she's only going to be held accountable for what she's trying to do. She's not going to be held accountable for what she cannot do. Okay, so that's that question. The other question that we had was, a divorcee dies during the iddah of his ex-wife. Does she inherit from him? So this is a person who's divorced his wife, and she is serving an iddah, and during this iddah she is serving, he dies. Okay, and now he's giving his mirath out. Oh, well, no, he's not, because he's dead. Whoever is his executor is now giving his mirath out. Does he give mirath to his wife or ex-wife who's now serving an iddah? So there's a few positions with this. If the husband has given his wife a talaq-e raj'i, okay, which is a revocable divorce, in which he has used explicit words, okay, explicit words, then the wife will observe her iddah, and also she'll inherit from his estate, because the nikah has not broken. That's why it's talaq-e raj'i. Okay, the talaq is did I say the talaq is not broken? The nikah is not broken. That's why I should have said. The nikah is still there. That's why he can take his wife back without a new nikah, okay, and without her being content with it. If the husband has given his wife a talaq-e bain, as it's referred to, which is an irrevocable divorce, okay, and this is whilst he was in a good state, a good health, and then the husband died before she covered her iddah of talaq, then the woman will cover the iddah of talaq, and she will not cover the iddah of death, and she will not inherit from her husband. Because you see, what's also happening is there's two iddats running together. She's already started to serve her iddat of talaq, and then he dies. So now she's supposed to start serving the talaq of death. Talaq of death, the iddah of death, which is 4 months and 10 days. So now there's a problem, isn't there? What's she supposed to do? The talaq of iddah, the talaq of iddah, the iddah of talaq, or the iddah of death? Which one is she supposed to do? So in that case, if he's given a talaq bain, and this is whilst he was in good health, so he's absolutely fine, he gave a talaq, and then obviously he gets run over, and now he's in the hospital, and he dies within 3-4 days after getting run over. Then obviously she'll complete her iddah of talaq, not her iddah of death, and she will not inherit from him. Okay, position 3 or scenario 3 is, if the husband, with the consent of the wife, gave a talaq bain, which is irrevocable, meaning that you have to do a new nikah, he cannot just take her back, during his illness, which is referred to as marad al-maut. Marad al-maut is the illness that a person suffers and then dies as a consequence. They do not recover from this. Usually we say they're on their deathbed. Okay, that's what marad al-maut is. Then the woman will complete the iddah of her divorce, and she will not observe the iddah of her death, and she will not inherit from her husband. Finally, the fourth scenario is if the husband has given his wife an irrevocable divorce again. So irrevocable divorce, remember, is talaq-e-bain, in which a new nikah has to be performed for them to get back together again. He just cannot take her to back again during his marad al-maut, which I've already explained to you what that is, but this time without her consent. She was not happy for this talaq. Then the iddat will be the longer of the two iddats, and she will inherit from her husband's or ex-husband's estate. Okay, so therefore, if you didn't catch them, just watch the YouTube video, inshallah, again, and you'll be able to see that there. So that, alhamdulillah, covers those questions. So we're up to date with them. Let's now pick up the questions which have been possibly coming in on, yes, they have been coming in. So, Assalamu alaikum. What does it mean when a sale transaction is done in a same sitting? When I asked someone if they wanted to buy something from me and they agreed, from that moment to when the item was given to her, to when she let me know when money will be paid, to when the payment was made, we both went out of the building more than once. 8 talked about other things. Was this a valid sale or not? Rather than trying to understand that, because I've already got confused here, is let's look at it like this. The way bay should be done, okay? The way bay should be done is that a person makes an offer to buy something and the other person accepts the offer. It's quite as simple as that, okay? And then what they do is for the bay to be valid, they at least give one thing. So they'll hand something over, they'll hand the thing over and I'll pay you later, okay? That's how a bay should be done, because obviously, how can a person buy something that they're not seeing? Okay, how are they buying something? They've got to buy something that they're seeing. That thing is in front of them. That, oh, I want to buy that book or something like that. Okay, so that's how it should be done. That's a more sound way. You kind of still do it in the sense that you agree the terms, and once you've agreed the price and you've agreed the product, then the bay is done. So that's the majlis of the bay. Do HMC use stun chicken? As on the HMC social media, they said most chicken in the UK is stun chicken. Yes, most chicken in the UK is stun chicken, but HMC currently do not authorize or do not certify stunned chicken. Okay, that's the position that they are adopting at the moment. But HMC is somewhat a minority when it comes to the amount of chickens which exist. I've mentioned to you that there's some ridiculous number of chickens that are slaughtered on a daily basis. We're talking a lot. I think a figure something like a few thousand was mentioned to me just for a city. So we're talking a large number. In fact, I think is it 4.2 billion across the world or something? I read somewhere daily. I read lots of figures, so I can't remember all these figures. Basically, there are a lot of chickens. We eat a lot of chicken. We eat a lot of meat. And HMC only covered the ones that they cover. And HMC don't actually slaughter anything. So, I think you just need to understand what that means. HMC only certify and give you a certificate and approve you based on their criteria. And one of their criteria points is that the animal is the chicken and the animal is unstunned. That's one of their criteria. So they will not certify you, meaning your slaughterhouse, if you are stunning the chicken. Question on boycotting, Musab. When the Prophet ﷺ went into the valley and was eating leaves, some used that as a boycott. Yeah, absolutely, that was a boycott. But that was a boycott, not that the Prophet ﷺ did. That was a boycott done on the Prophet ﷺ. Because once the Prophet ﷺ conquered Mecca as such, or even when he didn't conquer Mecca at the time of the kind of wars, he didn't boycott them. He went to war with them. If he felt it was a strategic move to attack a caravan, he would attack a caravan. If he felt it was a strategic move to attack Mecca, then he would attack Mecca, which was at Fateh Mecca. What he didn't do is use boycotting as a tool to kind of grind the people down or to kind of stick to affect them. So there's nothing in that regards. Okay, So yes, it was used against him. Absolutely. Social boycott, financial boycott, boycott of intermarriage. It was boycott on all levels. But there were still people who would smuggle food out secretly to them because they still had connections, family connections. So people felt obliged to take that food to them. So that existed. But you know, if even if we look at that really, then we say, well, actually, that was the amal of the mushrikun of Makkah. So should we imitate the mushrikun of Makkah? So in a way, that's like that's like backfiring, isn't it? Assalamu alaikum. So different size hair is allowed as long as it's not shaved. The thing with different size hair, Haris, is that we have to look at who are we imitating. Okay. So that issue comes under imitation, not under qaza. Okay, that comes under imitation. And yes, it is haram to imitate non-Muslims. It is absolutely haram. Man tashabba biqawmin fahuwa minhum. That person who assimilates a people is considered to be from those people. That's why we were given a very specific hair code. You know, we have a very specific hair code. We have a very specific dress code. We have a very specific dietary code. We have a very specific religious ritual worship code. We have a very specific behavior code. We have a very specific war code. We have a very specific, in every aspect, going to the toilet code. In every aspect of our life, we have been given a code to differentiate us so that we could be the callers to true faith, to true religion. So as the world goes through its various guises, whether it's socialism, whether it's Marxism, whether it's fanaticism, whether it's capitalism, whether it's consumerism, whether it's communism, whatever isms the world is going through, depending on how it feels, and the ebb and the flows in behavior which changes, Islam is supposed to be a constant. So in all of that noise, somebody somewhere can hear the true meaning of life. Somebody somewhere can say, what is this? And understand the true meaning of life. Does the hair qaza nullify reward, or whereby the reward of the salah is also nullified? Yeah, to do something which is makruh in salah is problematic. It will not nullify your salah. Okay, to do anything which is makruh is it takes the excellence away from the salah. The ulama will say the salah is accepted as long as you do the faraid, the wajibat, then your salah is accepted because that's what is required. But it will take away from the fullness of it, the completeness of it, the purity of it. What is fasakh? Fasakh. Is that what you're saying? Fasakh. That's fa, sin, kha. Is that what you're saying? Fasakh is when a nikah is annulled or a transaction is annulled. Fasakh is the annulling of a transaction. Okay, where it's annulled. It's not broken, it's annulled, it's removed, it's it's not meeting its conditions. So because it's not meeting its conditions, then we fasakh that. Have I understood properly? If the price and item is agreed, the item is not present with the seller, and the item is given later and the payment made later, the sale is valid. Yes, obviously, if it's not exchanging gold for gold, silver for silver, for things of that nature. So no questions on the Instagram, nothing on the Facebook as yet. And I think I've caught everything on the YouTube. Excellent. So, alhamdulillah, that's a good day, as they say. So we'll give you a few minutes in case somebody has some other questions, inshallah. If not, then we can jump on to, well, jump off actually, not jump onto anything. So let me give you a couple of minutes. So whilst we sit in silence, let me just tell you about tomorrow's, inshallah, fiqh hour. So tomorrow's fiqh hour is, or the hot topic of discussion for tomorrow is invitation to Islam, rulings for those accepting Islam, early days after entering Islam, and further learning. So this is in particular to focus on the dawah, or those people who are da'is, who are calling people towards Islam, who dedicate their efforts towards that. So we're going to have a discussion on reverts and the challenges in entering Islam. We can then have a Q&A on any atheism type questions that we have, any contemporary challenges, family, social circles for reverts. We can bring into the truth and discussion on the Abrahamic faith religions, the early days for a person in Islam, how they proceed, general learning and process in Islam for reverts. So there's no specific questions there for me to answer. So really this is for you folk to spend your next 23 hours on that type of topic. And maybe if you know any converts that have accepted Islam, is to maybe bring them on to the program so they can ask their questions that they wish to ask. And hopefully, inshallah, we will answer their queries for them. And that will be at the same time of 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Tomorrow, inshallah. What is the minimum action that means a relationship is broken amongst relatives? Well, the minimum action would be when the relationship breaks, when that's it, there's no communication, there's no conversation, there's no engagement with that person whatsoever. That's it, it's broken. That's it. There's no minimum. It's like a black and white. It's like a switch on, switch off. Because you remember, there's some relationships that we might have with relatives which is very close. Like, for example, I've got cousins, but I might not see those cousins for months, literally months, and we don't message each other. That doesn't mean that I've broken off from them, and I'm sure that doesn't mean that they've broken off from me, because whenever we meet each other, we'll talk to each other, we'll give salam, we'll say how you are, whatever. Because for me, anyway, personally, it's not practically possible to engage and interact with all of my relatives. I have alhamdulillah, quite a sizable family. So how do I engage with every single relative? So it's near impossible to do so. So really, as long as you've not broken that tie, you've not, the last conversation that you had with them wasn't such that say, I hate your guts, you stink, I don't want to have anything to do with you, then that's it, and that relationship is broken. You might have had if you've had to say quite strong words, as long as you finish the call off on a reasonable note, then you've not broken it. Yeah, you've had strong words, but that's going to happen. And then you sort of say, okay, no worries, inshallah, clearly we disagree with each other. Yep, no problem. Okay, assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. That's it. Because you naturally will be drawn towards certain people. Why would somebody ring me on FaceTime when I'm live? What's the logic on that? MashaAllah. I just killed my whole thing now, isn't it? Yeah. So, do you get what I mean? So in that regard, as long as you don't break that relationship, you're not the cause of that relationship breaking. If they break it, that's up to them. And if you meet them in the future and you give them salam, then you will still give them salam. You won't, if that person's giving you the cold eye or ignoring you or giving the cold shoulder, no, I say cold eye, but giving you the cold shoulder, then, you can still give salam to that person. And okay, that person might be a little bit detached from you because for whatever reason, they're jealous of you, don't like you, think you're full of it, whatever the reason is that they're stepping away from you, then fine. As long as you just keep at least the salam, the little bit of hospitable kalam, then that's sufficient. As I said, you cannot be the bosom buddy for everybody. That's just not the way it goes. You're naturally going to gravitate towards people that are like you, or you like their personalities. You're going to naturally gravitate towards those relatives, and you're not going to naturally gravitate to relatives who you find annoying or disrespectful or aggressive or negative or miserable or whatever, because that's maybe not your persona. So that's not considered as breaking a tie. Breaking a tie is when you sort of say, like the way people, so unfortunately, some parents disown their children, that you're no longer my child. That's breaking a tie. Okay, that's breaking a tie, that you're no longer my brother, or you're no longer my son, or you're no longer my daughter. That's breaking a tie. And like I said, there's only a black and white way of breaking a tie. There's no gray area. There's no, there's no kind of, oh, I've not talked to that person for 6 months, so I should ring that person. If you don't really have that kind of relationship and you don't really know what to talk about, but as long as you are, respectful to each other when you meet each other, and as long as you can, have a hospitable conversation, then that's as good as best as it's going to get, especially in current sort of mindsets for people, where now people are very independent of everybody else, and family is like the kind of worst thing that you can ever think of. Whereas years gone by, family was the actual cornerstone of society. Now family is like a burden, isn't it? It's like a stress, or it's a hassle. So you're going to see less and less people engaged with that. So I'll give another few minutes, inshallah, before we decide to wrap things off. So remember, the key thing for tomorrow is to try to get, if you know anybody, a friend, if you've got any association with anybody that's new to Islam, then, get them on tomorrow, because the questions are going to come from you tomorrow. Normally the 20-25 minutes that I give are questions which have already been sent to me. But for tomorrow, we'd hope that we can get some recent converts on, or converts that have been in. Maybe they can share their experiences with us, and we can extrapolate and comment on those as well, inshallah. Okay, I think that's about that, inshallah. So tune in tomorrow, same time, same place. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.